Welcome to the third dimension. Israel's Security Cabinet, chaired by Benjamin Netanyahu, approved a plan to occupy Gaza City in early August, sparking fears that the plan would worsen the already catastrophic humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The assault would force thousands of Palestinians in northern Gaza to move to the south of the Strip, which is suffering an intensifying hunger crisis under Israel's military offensive and aid restrictions. Israel's move came as mediators awaited an official Israeli response to their latest proposal in ceasefire talks. International condemnation grew over Israel's decision for a military takeover of Gaza City, warning the offensive would drag the region into a permanent escalation. To impact this topic joins me from Jerusalem Mr. Dimitri Diliani. Mr. Diliani is a member of Fatah Revolutionary Council and is Fatah Reformist Democratic Faction spokesperson. Mr. Diliani, good to have you in my show again.
Thanks for having me again.
Okay. Now, if we could begin with the new Israeli plan to occupy Gaza, okay? If I ask you at the beginning, how does this plan fit into the dynamics of the Israel's genocidal war against the Palestinians?
Well, this is not precisely a new plan. It's an old plan, but it wasn't announced until recently. Remember, back in the beginning of July, specifically on July 7th, the Minister of War, the Israeli Minister of War, declared that they are building a large concentration camp. He called it a humanitarian city in Rafah, so people would move into that concentration camp. The plan to occupy Gaza wasn't announced then, but now the pieces come together, and it's very evident that the Israeli government is planning to invade the city of Gaza, forcibly transfer its residents to this concentration camp. So this plan has been in the works for months, regardless of what the Israelis were doing on the negotiation side. In other words, while they were negotiating and claiming to have good faith, they were actually planning to expand the genocide, expand their war crimes, and to come closer to ethnic cleansing. Because at the end of the day, the whole goal of this genocide, of the war crimes, of the invasion, of the bombings, of killing the children and starving them, at the end goal, end game is ethnic cleansing. This is the Zionist end game, whether it is in Gaza or in the West Bank, but it is more bloody, live-streamed, genocidal in Gaza than it is in the West Bank.
Okay. Now, you've just raised the issue of negotiations, Mr. Diliani, and we know that the Palestinian resistance factions agreed on this ceasefire proposal, which includes 60-day ceasefire and the release of 10 living hostages being held in Gaza. In turn, Israel would release about 200 long-serving Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Now, the question is about this, Mr. Diliani. Isn't it the same old Witkoff's proposal? And how would you expect Israel to respond to it?
The genocidal state of Israel has been playing the same game over and over again when it comes to cessation of genocide initiatives. These initiatives usually are spearheaded by Arab countries, and namely Egypt. more than other countries. And now with this efforts, it's been aided by Qatar. Now, if you remember the ceasefire that happened in at the beginning of this year,
Yes.
it was actually proposed in May of 2024. Netanyahu kept on buying time, kept on coming up with excuses until pushed to the corner by all the people and all the negotiators, and agreed to it, but did not go through with it because he was very clear that he would lose his coalition in the government. So he ditched what was agreed on. Now, Witkoff, the Americans, the Egyptians, the Qataris, everybody has been for quite some time coming up with ideas, initiatives, until everybody agreed on one. Hamas last Saturday expressed its agreement after meeting with the Palestinian factions, mainly Fatah Reformist Democratic Faction,
Yes.
Islamic Jihad, and the PFLP,
Yeah.
and the National Initiative, and others who basically form
Yeah.
the substantive political weight, the Palestinian political weight in Gaza.
Yeah.
And they have come up with the decision to agree. And the agreement was submitted to the Americans
Mediators.
and Egyptians.
Yeah.
But until now, Netanyahu is still working on buying time, not answering clearly, going through with the war and genocide plans, while giving lip service to the Americans and Europeans. I think that up until the White House moves with some kind of pressure against Netanyahu, Netanyahu is going to keep on repeating this whole game that he's been doing. And if you remember, even before that, less than a month into the genocide, the Arab countries already were talking about initiatives to stop the genocide.
Yeah.
But again, it's the same game. Netanyahu's political life is tied to the genocide.
Yeah.
In other words, Netanyahu will remain prime minister as long as the genocide goes on. When the genocide stops, his government will fall. He will be subject to court because of unrelated crimes he has committed or allegedly committed in the past regarding embezzlement and other stuff.
Okay.
At any rate, so this is the game for Netanyahu.
Yeah,
and Netanyahu's every morning task is how to buy another day or another week or another month while continuing to starve children and kill families in Gaza.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that the U.S. pressure being exercised on Netanyahu, but observers say at the same time, Mr. Diliani, that the U.S. position seems to be drifting further away from allies. And let me here quote what President Trump commented on this plan. He said, it's very pretty much up to Israel. He said that. And Washington's ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, was even more direct, okay, when he talked about it, saying that it is not our job to tell the Israelis what they should or shouldn't do. Now, what do you read in these statements, or what do these statements reveal about the U.S. position?
Given that the U.S. ambassador to the genocidal state of Israel is Huckabee, and Huckabee is known to be a more Zionist, Messianic Zionist at the level of Benjamin Netanyahu, if not even further to the right, and he is, as a political appointee in that position, it is expected for him to say or to take the Israeli far-right Israel first approach, as he is one of the symbols of the Israel first concept in American politics, where Israel is put first ahead of the United States. At any rate, you have to also look at the second tier, which is Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., you have politicians that are continuously bribed, legally bribed through AIPAC and other firms. And also you have the Epstein file, in which there are compromising material out there in the hands of the state of Israel that is using it to extort U.S. politicians. Allegedly, Donald Trump is one of the big ones, as he was the best friend of Jeffrey Epstein for a decade, and he has been into his island for many, many times. And people say that there are compromising material with him committing illegal sexual acts on camera. So between these two, they have full control of Washington, D.C. The Israelis do. Now, if you look at the popular attitude, totally drifted away from the genocidal state of Israel, to the point that in today's statistics, only 8% of Democratic voters, the voters for the Democratic Party, only 8% agree and support the state of Israel in its war in Gaza. Everybody else does not. And if you look at the Republicans and you take specifically less than age of 50, it's the vast majority of the Republican voters less than 50 who are against the state of Israel and against the war crimes and the genocide that the state of Israel is committing. So we have a growing popular attitude developing against the state of Israel in the United States, while Washington is totally detached. Now, the thing is how to convert this political shift in the attitudes, the popular attitude. How are you going to transfer that to a shift in voting?
Yeah.
And I believe that figures like Mamdani, figures like AOC, figures like Rashida Tlaib, and these younger figures in American politics, they are the ones who are going to translate the change in popular attitude into policy. But up until then, us as Palestinian people and the free people of the world have to continue to expose the genocidal state of Israel that is built on supremacist ideology, built on hatred, built on racism, and its society that it has created does not fall far away from this specific ideology. That's why up until today, the majority of Israeli citizens do support the starvation of Palestinian children in Gaza.
Yeah. Okay. So you've just mentioned the crime of starvation, but before that, before we talk about this in detail, Mr. Diliani, in the context of applying pressure on the U.S. administration, okay, how do you see, okay, the Arab and Islamic states' efforts in this regard? Today, as we speak, the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah Sisi is in Saudi Arabia, and of course the talks would be Gaza. So how do you see those Arab efforts, Arab states and Islamic efforts to curb or to urge Trump to exercise pressure on Netanyahu?
Well, Arab states and Islamic states do have different agendas and different reasons for supporting the Palestinian cause and for being against the genocide. Let me speak about the Arab states, that, especially the ones that surround Palestine. For them, it's two-tier issue. First, it's the pan-Arab pan-Arab cause that the whole Arab people stand behind, which is the Palestinian cause. Two, the genocide in Gaza is a national security challenge for every Arab state, whether it was close or far. And the popular demand goes towards people asking for action. People want to see their state step forward and exert pressure on the state of Israel to stop the genocide. We have been, these states, the Arab states, have been very cooperative, have been very productive, and have been very also efficient in terms of applying this direction, which is stopping the genocide and resolving the Palestinian cause by establishing the independent Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital and the return of the refugees according to United Nations resolutions. So we see the effort that is put forward by Egypt,
Yeah.
Mainly by Egypt because of Gaza's historical ties and its geographic proximity,
Yes.
and also because of the role that Egypt plays in the Arab world.
Yes.
Also, we see the UAE, the United Arab Emirates,
Yeah.
being the number one supporter of the Palestinian people in Gaza in terms of providing the Palestinian people with the aid as much as possible.
Yeah.
You have the Kingdom of Jordan playing a great role diplomatically around the world,
Yeah.
to make sure that there's enough pressure on the state of Israel.
Yeah.
We know that Lebanon and Syria have their own problems. They cannot do much, but Saudi Arabia is also playing a huge role. So it has been a very positive
Yeah.
experience in terms of Arab cooperation,
Yes.
to stop the genocide.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when we look at the world scene, Zionist power and the stronghold it has,
Yeah.
whether it was in the United States of America
Yeah.
or in Europe, is still by far
Yeah.
beats Arab efforts.
Okay.
For many reasons, I don't want to get into it because
Yeah.
it'll take me a couple hours. But
Yeah.
what we see is very positive direction
Yeah.
that the Arab states are taking, and we as Palestinian people, we highly appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we call upon them to continue with the
Yes.
same effort until the genocide stops and
Yeah.
until the occupation ends.
Okay. Now, if we turn to another point, which is starvation, Mr. Diliani, on August the 18th, Amnesty International issued a report that has compelling evidence that Israel's starvation of Palestinians in Gaza is a deliberate policy. How would you comment on this?
I think thanks for organizations like that to state the obvious, because anybody with two brain cells to rub together can see that Israel is holding Gaza in a siege, and Israel is prohibiting humanitarian aid to enter. All the lies that Israel tried to spread, all the propaganda that its pundits hold around mainstream television networks around the world, especially on the weekends, doesn't really pay off. It doesn't make sense. These are old propaganda strategies that are really offset by live stream that people can look at through their phones. People do not need to watch TV to really know that the state of Israel is deliberately starving the children in Gaza. All
Yeah.
they have to do is get on any social media platform. They'll see it with their own eyes. They'll see
Yes.
it live streaming.
Yes.
So, but at the same time, this common sense, this public knowledge or international knowledge at this point still needs to be hammered down, so it would turn into or feed into the policies of Western countries that still support the state of Israel, namely the countries that, even though they give us lip service, they are still providing the state of Israel with weapons.
Yeah.
Those countries that still give us lip service and they have economic agreements, preferential economic agreements with the state of Israel, like the EU.
Yeah.
People that, or countries that give us lip service while they are still forming the backbone of the support, financial, military, intelligence, political support for the genocidal state of Israel, like the White House.
Yes.
That's why we need organizations like that to speak up, to push for public action to
Yeah.
enforce this fact into policies.
Yes. Okay. Now, another important point in the context of Israel genocidal war against Palestinians is that the Israel also gave a final approval for a widely contested settlement project in the occupied West Bank that would effectively split the territory in two. Now, rights groups have warned the move could destroy plans for a future of a Palestinian state. What is your say on this?
The E1 project is not a new one. Actually, Benjamin Netanyahu proposed that on the first time when he was prime minister back in the late 90s. And Yasser Arafat then, God bless his soul, he was the president, and he toured the world. He he pushed us as grassroots activists then to really come out and protest, and we did, and we raised enough pressure, and the Palestinian diplomatic branch headed by Yasser Arafat then put enough pressure to kind of put it off the shelf.
Yeah.
Netanyahu realizes now, even though he tried a few years ago, it did not work out, but now he realizes that the United States of America is giving a green light to starve children and kill families on a scale that has exceeded 60,000 people. The United States has allowed them to bomb neighboring countries, reaching out to Iran, and joined them, as a matter of fact, in many of these. They have bombed parts of Yemen, and the Americans joined them. So Netanyahu looks at it this moment as the proper time, while he has a green light to commit war crimes, reaching up to genocide, to add another war crime to it, which is the settlement, colonial settlement activity, which will basically kind of cancel or put the last nail in the coffin of the state of Palestine when it is realized. This project basically divides the West Bank, is connected to a network of roads, apartheid roads, in which just Israeli settlers can drive on, that would further kind of cut off the West Bank into cantons, South African style, apartheid South African style. And by that, they would just basically kill the idea of the state of Palestine. The world is watching. So far, we haven't heard any reaction from the world on this project, except for useless statements. And at this point, we don't look forward only for these states to recognize the state of Palestine. Because let me put it this way very clearly. If you don't recognize the state of Palestine today, you are with the genocide. It's as simple as that. You are with the starvation of children. And when this project was announced, the E1, and you have still did not recognize the state of Palestine and still recognize the state of Israel, you are complicit in the genocide. If you have economic relations with the state of Israel, you are complicit in the genocide. The state of Israel hasn't received the message yet that the world is against the genocide. That's why if any state wants to remain with a little bit of credibility on that it is a democracy, they have to withdraw their recognition of the state of Israel. They have to take serious actions, because recognizing the state of Palestine is it is the right step in the right direction. It is long overdue, but that doesn't mean that recognizing the state of Israel should continue while the state of Israel is committing genocide. People should give the state of Israel a deadline. Withdraw from Gaza, withdraw from the West Bank. If you don't do that by this date, not only we will recognize the state of Palestine, we withdraw our recognition of the state of Israel. But until then, you have to know that humanity did not learn much from its history, did not learn much from the atrocities of the 20th century, the 19th century, and the 18th century, and before that. Haven't learned nothing. The state of Israel is committing genocide at this moment. The world is watching. Nobody's taking any step. Yes, there are shifting popular attitudes that will later on be shifted to policy. But while our kids are starving and being killed today, right now, we need also a shift today.
Okay. So with this imperative couple of messages, Mr. Diliani, we come to the end of this interview. Thank you so much for your time and insights, and thank you for talking to Yemen Today TV.
Thanks for having me.
That's all for this week. See you next time with a new edition of The Third Dimension.